Welcome to everyone. I'm Diana Vasarella, and I'm a journalist working for Agronotizie, an online paper. I'm here to moderate this event dedicated to the food waste. So I have always been very active on this issue. When we talk about food waste, we also talk about wasted resource in Europe. And they are all things we cannot afford in 2023. About 1/3 of the food produced in the world is wasted or lost. Part is wasted during the retail sales, part is wasted at home, and part is wasted in the field for pathogen infection or for post-harvest disease. Also, in the last decade, we lost several post-harvest fungicides, so it's important now to grow our interest in finding some cheap or safe alternative. So we can start the day with the welcome address. I'm here with Gianfranco Romanazzi, the StopMedWaste. We will go into the details of the project, but I was glad to coordinate this project.
Yeah, welcome to everybody. Thanks to Diana Vasarella for the introduction. She's from an important, one of the most important about the news in agriculture, Agronotizie, and it is a pleasure to have you here with us. And it was a big pleasure to coordinate this project because we are a group of friends that we are growing with the knowledge and the management of fresh fruit and loss management, since we need a safer world, but we need food for everybody. And we are trying to do our best to develop new strategies, and we are doing with a list of colleagues. Most of them are here in the room, some others are following online. I say hello to all of you. And this seminar, this event fell in a day that is the 5th of May. It is an important day. It was the death of Napoleon time ago. And there is also a poem called The 5th May. And who knows that we can tell that from this day and from those research, we may take to the death of food loss and waste, because there is the strategy that wants to decrease the hunger, so there is a zero hunger, and we can try to give our contribution, and we can try to give within the frame of Prima, and we have this great support from Prima, and we thank Prima for supporting our idea, and thanks to that we are trying to go on and provide results of the science. Thank you.
Thank you, Gianfranco. So we can connect with Mohamed Bagay, that is from Prima Agri-Food Prima Officer. So I know that Prima programs work on water resource, sustainable agriculture, and food chain. And I want to know specifically what activities do you carry out to combat food waste?
Okay. Thank you so much for the invitation. Good morning to all of you. I don't know if you can hear me clearly.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. First of all, I would like to thank you to take this opportunity to express my sincere gratitude and appreciation for the kind invitation to participate in this very important conference focused on the vegetables and fruits. I was really thrilled to receive such an invitation, and I'm really looking forward to attending and listening to all of you and all these discussions. My duty today is to explore the latest research, innovation, and trends in this important sector at the regional level, with the aim to promote further dialogue, networking, and knowledge sharing among the researchers, practitioners, policymakers, and the private sector as the main drivers to advancing both the value and the supply chain of vegetables and fruit in the Mediterranean region. We all know that the Mediterranean region is one of the largest producers and consumers of vegetables and fruits in the world. In 2021, for instance, the market size of the vegetables and fruit sector in the Mediterranean was valued at around 120 billion US dollar. The region accounts for nearly 20% of the global production and consumption of these crops. Italy, for instance, is one of the top Mediterranean countries in terms of the production and export of the vegetables and the fruit. Despite all this impressive production capacity, the sector is facing several challenges such as the climate change, the global warming, the water scarcity, disease outbreak, and the high market competition. Moreover, the COVID-19 pandemic and the political unrest in the region have had a significant negative impact on the sector over the past years, disrupting the supply chain and the trade and increasing the demand for these products. Over the years, the PRIMA program, we were always keen to address these pressing demands of the Mediterranean people. With the financial support of the European Commission and 19 PRIMA participating states, every year since 2018, we publish calls to address such challenges and needs, such as improving the efficiency and the sustainability of the agri-food value chain, empowering the small farmers and the small producers and the most vulnerable groups, such as women and youth, to be more resilient against the COVID-like crisis. Such investment reflects in funding more than 200 PRIMA projects so far, with a total investment 286 million euros. Out of this figure, we have 57 running agri-food projects with a total investment up to 75 million euro. Over the last years, we witnessed some very interesting research findings, best practices, successful case studies from various projects in all Mediterranean countries. For the agri-food and farming projects, they are covering a wide range of topics, including but not limited to the latest trend in vegetables and fruit production and consumption, sustainable agricultural practices, supply chain management, post-harvesting, and minimizing the agri-food waste, extending the shelf life of the food products, and valorizing the byproducts. And we have here a very good example and successful model, which is the StopMedWaste, coordinated by Professor Gianfranco. You are all cordially invited to visit the PRIMA official website and to check the portfolio of the funded projects. With the continuous support of the European Commission and the PRIMA participating state, we always commit ourselves to be responsive to the main societal challenges facing, among the others, the agri-food sector, especially for the fruit and the vegetables. By attending this conference, we hope to gain a better understanding of the challenges and the opportunities in the region to be reflected, hopefully, in the future and the upcoming PRIMA calls, and to identify the ways in which we can work together to achieve greater productivity, efficiency, and the sustainability in this important sector. I hope this conference will inspire for new collaboration, initiatives, and partnerships that will drive the meaningful progress in the years ahead. Once again, I would love to thank the organizers for the kind invitation. The topic of this conference is of a great interest to us at the PRIMA Secretariat, and personally, I'm really honored to be part of this. Thank you again, and wish you a successful and fruitful discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, for this event, we have to thank in particular the DECO, and the DECO deal a lot with post-harvest. So I invite Clara Montesinos that is connected to speak and explain what news in this sector for DECO.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. First, I would like to thank Gianfranco and all the organizers in the PRIMA project, StopMedWaste, for this meeting and all the work that will be presented. DECO is, as you all know, partner in this StopMedWaste project. And we are excited to be in this team with this pioneer scientist in the research in post-harvest. And our role, as you know, will be to test the outcome of all the research that they have been doing to see if they have applicability in the industry and make that all that research is applicable and in service to the sector, which is so necessary. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to be there with you physically due to agenda problems, but I know my colleagues in Italy, and I see Claudio Torrici there, General Manager of Italy. So thanks for the presence of my colleagues in Italy. And they will be at your service in anything you need from the StopMedWaste. And I'm looking forward to listening all the contributions from the scientists in this project, and looking forward to test your solutions in the industry. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I invite also Claudio Torrici from DECO Italy.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. I will spend some little words just to remind that DECO is an international with about 19 different entities around the world working to ensure the increase of the shelf life of fruit and vegetables. We have started our mission long ago, about 9 years, and for sure we can confirm that along the time solution technology have changed and totally renewed along the time. Now there is for sure increasing request to offer technology to increase the shelf life of fruit and vegetables. In the shelf of supermarket, fruits that go all around the season. We have in each season grape, cherry, mango, and all kinds. The season now is not anymore the characteristic of the market. So the fruit has to move from one continent to the other and move important business. So increase the shelf life is a way to ensure good profit to the growers. And this is a key focus on the industry. This is our, let's say, business for the market.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this event. So, for the last welcome address, I invite Gianni Ceredi from Macfrut. Okay, so we can start speaking about the StopMedWaste project. I know that the aim of the project is to extend the shelf life of fruit, vegetables, and aromatic plants with physical means, natural compounds, and geochemical agents. So, Gianfranco Romanazzi, can you present the project?
Yeah, thank you, and welcome to all of you here in the room and online. I will try to open the file and share my screen. Here is. Okay. No. Yeah. Technical support, please. that's the funny side of the direct. So I thank all of the people that provide the welcome, because it is nice to be here together with a lot of people that work with this project, and we are toward the end of the project that started in May 2020. So in the middle of COVID pandemic, then we are now almost at the end. And we had an extension thanks to Prima Foundation. So the project will end in 1 year, and okay. Thank you so much. And then here we are.
No, like, sorry. Well, you share on the screen and this one.
Ok, sì, ma la presentazione sta già aperta in PowerPoint.
Sì.
È già aperta. Sta su PowerPoint. Ok. Ah, ok.
Questa.
Perfetto, no, avanzi. Okay. Thank you. I hope you can see it all. And yeah, I will provide just some general information about the project. And I take the chance to thank Prima Foundation, of course, that funded this project, to thank Macfrut that hosted us, all of you that are here and the people that are following at home, and DECO that provided the support in the organization of this meeting. DECO is one of the partners of the meeting, as you heard. So why we are here talking about reduction of food loss and food waste? Because we have the SDG, the Sustainable Development Goals, and there is the second, that is the Zero Hunger. With each 2020, 2030, we have to reduce to zero the poverty. That is a good aim. We have to try our best to do. And as well, we have to halve the waste. Most of them we have at home. So decreasing the waste is one of the options to have more food. And in EU, this was possible with the farm to fork strategy that adopted some of the issues of the SDG. Then we have to increase the organic agriculture, and within this project, we are providing some inputs as an alternative to synthetic pesticide. We have to reduce the fruit waste. Here, there is just a single pathogen, that is Botrytis cinerea, that can provide a list of waste on a list of fruit, and this in the basket of the fruit that we have at home. And at home, we have more than half of the waste that occurs. And in the next decade, we have to decrease to half the synthetic pesticides. Then this is one of the chances that we have, and we have to try to do our best to meet this. This project is done with a list of partners from 5 different countries, and the Prima Foundation support this project that links the different shore of EU, so the northern shore with the southern shore, to share the knowledge. And we have 9 partners, and most of them are here. I thank that you are here to present the results of this project. And this is the frame. In EU, we waste 173 kilos of food per year. That is a huge amount, and we have to try to reduce that. Most of them happens at the consumer's home, and there is a budget of 1,000 euro among the different units. We want to apply those innovative strategies, moving from the farm to the fork, so from the field to the post-harvest and to the consumer, trying to reduce the application of synthetic pesticide. We have a list of work package in which we will apply physical means, natural compounds, biocontrol agents. We will try to manage foodborne pathogen. That is another issue that we have to cover. We have to do into the packing house, so the support of DECO is very, very important, because we have to go through the market. We don't have to stay into the lab. We have to move this innovation to the market using the new tools. So the sensor, the smart packaging, the LCA, and all those strategy are under study in this time, and we will present in the next meetings, because we have 1 more year of investigation and 6 more months for dissemination. Then we have to monitor the quality of the fruit, because every treatment, if it is effective, but it does not improve or it makes worse the quality of the fruit, it is not good. So we have to try to do our best. And we have to scale up some of those tools. For example, with DECO, we have to provide those compounds to see if in a large-scale application they can be useful. And something that we have to do this afternoon, and we have to do thanks to Gianni Ceredi, that is now preparing our afternoon, including the taste of some fruits. So you are welcome to join us in Macfrut this afternoon. He says has a hello, but he's preparing the afternoon for us. And we have to do some training for the people that works in the packing house. Then how to identify the causal agents, how to manage, which are the main problem of the packing house. Then the project took a lot of scientific results. I will just show very, very fast some of the papers that already came, that are already available to the scientific community. We have some of them. I just listed some of those. And part of those papers had a network of different units that worked together. This is a second list, but we have a third and so on. So we provided already a good knowledge thanks to the funding of StopMedWaste project. And we organized, Nikos Sortsakis, that we'll talk later, organized a big meeting, and right now they were produced the proceedings of this meeting, and we had the opportunity to present the knowledge there. We were in Cyprus last year. We had a wonderful meeting in an excellent location and a very nice discussion about the topics. And it was a session that was dedicated to this project, and where all the partners show their results, and all those results are in the Congress proceedings. And we had a meeting of the project. So another meeting was organized by Professor Antonio Polto right last week on pomegranate. That it is one of the crops that is involved in this project. Here as well, we need some improvements. Professor Luis Palou was in Bari and took a seminar in this project. And in August, at the end of August, when most of you will be in holiday, we will be in Lyon to have a meeting, a public meeting to the community discussing the results of this project. And all what we did is now on social media, and even the recording of the meeting of today will be published on the YouTube channel. So thanks to Marwa, Lucrezia, and to all the people that produce knowledge and help to disseminate through the social media. And there is a website on which you can find information. And this is the meeting that starts in the morning. And I'm very curious to learn how the other research units are progressing in the research. And several research units will show their results within today morning. And we will have time to discuss this afternoon. So I thanks to all the people that are joining project and to all of you that attended this meeting.
Thank you, Dr. Franco. And I see a lot of articles and papers now available. So I think that there are a lot of eco-sustainable possibilities to combat food waste. And I recently wrote an article about chitosan, that is a polysaccharide obtained by the killing of fungi and arthropods. And I know that it is useful in the food sector as a supplement, but also it can be used as yes, putting for fruit and vegetables. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about chitosan, essential oil, and ozone as food to control decay causing fungi and control post-harvest decay of species.
Yeah. Thank you. After this general introduction to the project, I will move to the results of our research unit. So we applied the chitosan, as Valeriana told, and essential oils and ozone, because those can be because we have to reach these aims, and we have to reduce food waste with reduction of synthetic safer alternatives. And among those safer alternatives, there are some basic substances. We know that the companies, the retailers, claim high quality fruit with a reduced amount of synthetic pesticides. So they are not happy with the LMR, that is a threshold that is safer for us, but they want half or 1/3. And you have to provide solution to have the same results, so a good quality with a reduced amount. So we apply some basic substance, and the chitosan is one of those, to try to replace in some of the options the synthetic pesticides. What is chitosan? Chitosan is a natural biopolymer. It is present in the outer part of the fungi, and it is derived from chitin. So when a plant sees this chitosan, think that a fungus is coming and increase the defense. Then we try with chitosan to trick the plants, and the plant is thinking that a fungus is attacking, increase the defense, and so it has multiple properties, because it produces a coating, as you told. It is an edible coating. Since chitosan is used in Islamic diets, with me it didn't work so much, but it is so we can eat, and since we can eat also the tree to the fruit, and this is beneficial. as well, it has antimicrobial properties, and it increases the defense of the plant. And we are trying to use chitosan since time. We started with Professor Hippolyte that one day I was working with the biocontrol agents, and he told me, there is this interesting paper. Would you like to try? At the beginning, I was not happy, but now I'm pretty happy to have worked for maybe 25 years on, since last century. There are a lot of products on the market, and there is a good interest from the market, new product. This is an incomplete list. Some others are coming pretty soon. There is an increase of interest even in scientific literature because this chitosan provides this coating around the fruit that is a barrier to the gas exchange. So the fruit ripens later because it is reduced the respiration of the fruit. So there is less oxygen, there is a delay of ripening, and the fruit takes more, is less sensitive to the disease, and then this coating is also antimicrobial, so the fruit is more resistant to the post-harvest decay, and there is an extended shelf life. Then we tested in vitro, and we tested also different formulations. For example, there are different kinds of chitosan. We saw a very long list. We just compared two of them. This is just one of the trials that we are running with a different concentration. And we tested on different post-harvest pathogens. And we can see that the pathogen can be more or less sensitive to chitosan. For example, Botrytis cinerea is less sensitive as compared to Monilinia, Laxa, Frutigena, and Fruticola, that are three important pathogens. And we found a different behavior among two chitosan formulations. One works better at higher concentration, another works better at lower concentration. So not all chitosan are the same, we can tell. We also test some volatile organic compounds produced by essential oils. So there is a list of essential oil, and Samuel, that is a student that is working with us, developed a system in which you can take together two plates and you can have an inhibition of the fungus growth just with volatiles. And there are compounds that work at a lower concentration. For example, Origonum vulgare works with lower concentration. Others, so Melaleuca alternifolia, for example, or Rosmarinus officinalis, works with higher concentration. Or we try to mix together chitosan and ruta essential oils, and we saw that the combination improve the quality, in this case of papaya, and activate the defense, so increase the expression of enzyme linked in defense mechanism. And as last, we applied ozone to preserve the pitch during storage, and we went to see if this ozone affects the physiology of the plant. We know that ozone breaks the ethylene, so slow down respiration, but are we sure about? Then we went to see the physiology of the plant, and we went to test some of the enzymes that are linked to the respiration. Lucia Landi, that should be here, but today is sick, so she will follow her. She will follow us, and we thank her for the big work that she did. And she found that there is an activation of enzyme link, a reduction of activation of enzyme linked to respiration. So the fruit takes better because there is a slowing down of respiration. And what we can do to take better the fruit? there is an increasing interest of the scientific community in the induced resistance. So we have to make the fruit stronger. Then how we can do? We can apply to the fruit a list of stress. The fruit is under a kind of battle with the pathogen, and the fruit has its power, but we can increase the power of the fruit because the fruit can go toward the disease, so toward the infection, or toward the resistance. So this is an equilibrium, it is a balance, and we have to increase the defense of the fruit to go as later as possible toward the death. And we can do in different stages, but earlier we do, higher is the increaser of defense that we can obtain. So with this induced resistance, we can give more power to the fruit. And I thank all the people that contributed to this research, and I thank to all of you for the attention.
Thank you very much. And so the next report also talked about essential oils that have antimicrobial activity against a wide range of microorganisms and also antioxidant activities. So I invite to the stage Nikolaos Solisakis from Cyprus University of Technology to talk about the application of essential oils and their main component for preservation of fresh foods.
Buongiorno. With the organizers, and this is a nice place and nice to see you all again. So this work took place at Cyprus University of Technology, and as mentioned, the title is Application of Essential Oils and their main component for preservation of fresh produce. So I would like to add some points of what Gianfranco already mentioned before, that the whole system is a little bit complicated, it's not so simple. Why do you want to...
Sorry, Nicholas. Is that not going... Yeah. Let's start. Let's try to be back.
From here.
Okay. No?
Okay. So as I mentioned, the title is Application of Essential Oils and Main Component for the Preservation of Fresh Produce. So why we work with medicinal aromatic plants? Because they have increased interest in both industry and scientific research. As they have strong antioxidant and antimicrobial activities, and often they act as natural sanitizers against synthetic chemicals. So these properties are related to a number of compounds they have, like catechins, chlorophylls, minerals, carotenoids, vitamins, that they make them as a very nice tool to work as a natural component on post-harvest storage conditions. And of course, we all know that medicinal aromatic plants are used in pharmaceutics and cosmetics industry. So from a medicinal plant, we can use different parts like fresh biomass, dry biomass, essential oils, hydrosols, and several other components. And we are going to focus on essential oils and hydrosols that they have already been used for several years for post-harvest preservation of fresh storage. I'm sure this picture is not a nice one, but it's a fact that you can see some problems of fresh vegetables like eggplants, tomato, pepper against gray mold infection from botrytis cinerea. So botrytis, as already mentioned by Gianfranco, is a very big threat in post-harvest and of course in pre-harvest applications. So there is a need to find alternative way of food preservation, avoiding chemical agents or at least reducing them, ensure product quality in order to reduce the microbial load, and of course to improve and preserve the organoleptic fruit characteristic of the fresh produce. So we work with Dittany, which is Origanum dictans, is an endemic plant in Creta, in Greece. And here you see a little bit the process of taking essential oils by hydrodistillation. We need to analyze the essential oils to different components. And on the table, you see that some components like cavacrol is the main one, and possible the antioxidant or antimicrobial activity of essential oils is related to that. I say possible because we will see some examples. So what we did, actually, we apply this essential oil on different fresh produce, eggplant, cherry tomato, pepper, against botrytis cinerea for different times, like 24 hours, 48 hours, or continuously 144 hours, on different concentrations by vapor applications in order to see what is the most optimal condition for using these essential oils. So how the experiment took place, we have our fresh produce, and the first experiment was what we call sustained effect. We wound inoculate the fruits with the fungi, and then we add the fruits in, expose them in the vapors of essential oils, and then we start to measure how the fungi was affected. And of course, this took place for both in fruits, but also in vitro in PDA media. In another experiment is what we call memory effect. So we want to see if the fruits can induce the resistance against the fungi infection. So we add the fruits, expose them to essential oils, then we remove them from the essential oils, and then we wound inoculate them, and then we store them in storage conditions to see how the fungi is growing. And of course, this took place for fruits and for PDA media. And what you see in vitro, we see that there is a reduction on colony dose by the meaning of concentration at the time of application, as you see on the plates on your right. And this reduction was also observed for the sustained effect and for the memory effect. Please keep in mind that memory effect means that the fungi was never exposed to essential oil. So whatever changes we see is related to the mean, to the media or to the fruits that you will see later on. And of course, this is not affecting only the vegetative part of the fungi, the colony, but also the food, the spore production of the botrytis cinerea. And we see a decrease in both sustained and memory effect of our applications. When we shift to fruits, we see that the effect of applying essential oils in different concentrations, there is a decreasing in fruit, in fungal growth on the fruit, and you see that this is proportionally decreased by increasing the concentration of essential oil. But this doesn't mean that we can apply really high concentration of essential oils, because then you will see later on that we will have problem in the fruit itself. But the most nice effect is that we get decrease even on the memory effect. Not so strong, but still there is there, which means that the fruits start already to induce the resistance when they expose to essential oils, as the fungi here was never seen, essential oil were never exposed to essential oils. And nicely, we see that spore production, I mean, the fungi development is also affected not to produce or to decrease the spore production in both sustained effect, but more importantly, in memory effect, which means that the fungi has already affected the whole cycle of its growth. And some of you will tell me, okay, all these results are nice because you work with botrytis. Maybe botrytis is a special fungi that has this these effects. No, it's not the truth, because we have seen in other fungi like Coleotropium, Rhizopus, Alternaria, that we get similar effects, which means that the essential oils can affect, can decrease the fungal growth. So after this experience on StopMedWaste, we try to understand better how the application of essential oils, what do we need, which special essential oil? Is it the main compound that is the key player of this decrease that we get? So we apply rosemary and eucalyptus essential oils and the main component, which is eucalyptol, for the preservation of apples and pear fruits. And we work now with Penicillium expansum for both of these fruits. And we use, as I mentioned, rosemary essential oils and eucalyptus essential oils. And why we have chosen that? Because both of them, they have their main component, eucalyptol, not in equal levels, like rosemary has it on 37% and eucalyptus has it on 85%. So if you apply the same concentration of essential oil, the mixtures, what you see as red color means worst scenario, and what you see as green color is a good scenario. So what we see, yes, the green is a good scenario, but in case of respiration, we get an increase of respiration with high levels of eucalyptus essential oil and eucalyptol, which is not good for the post-harvest. And in firmness, we get a decrease of firmness, which means fruit becomes softer. And actually, eucalyptol and eucalyptus at high levels increase the ripening index of the fruits. So speed up the metabolism of the fruit. And in order to support what previously mentioned by Gianfranco, we see that the fruits get the message of induced stress when we apply high levels of essential oils. As you see here, increase of MDA at the green colors, we have an increase on MDA, which is a stress factor of the fruit. So high levels makes the fruit more stressed, more quickly to ripen, and as a result, they cannot resist the fungal attack. So some take-home messages: essential oils are decreased at room temperature compared to chilled storage conditions. Essential oils strong biocidal, by meaning antimicrobial and antioxidant activities, can be explored further with promising applications. Coating fruits with plant volatiles or modified atmosphere packaging need to be more expanded, more to support this effort. And of course, we need to consider dose response, by the meaning the time and the concentration application, because not all the fruits and not all the essential oils have the same behavior on our fresh produce. And I would like to thank you, and of course, thanks to the organizers and the StopMedWaste.
Thank you so much. I invite all the participants to take note of some questions or if you need some clarification, because at the end of the event, we will have a quick discussion, so we can make some questions after. And so we talk about alternative ways of food preservation, in particular on vegetables, and now we can move to another crop, pomegranate and citrus fruits. So I invite on the stage Anna Maria Mincuzzi from University of Bari, talking about integrated alternative control means against post-harvest disease of pomegranates and citrus fruits. Thank you.
So, good morning. My presentation concerns the integrated alternative control means against the post-harvest diseases of pomegranates and citrus fruits. One of the most important things to assure is that significant yield losses occurred before harvest, but above all after harvest. In fact, we had about the 18%, this is related to pomegranate cultivar, that occurred before harvest and are due to abiotic damages such as bad handling or weather. Instead, the remaining 44% happened from the harvest to the marketing, and is due mainly to post-harvest diseases caused by fungal. These represented the 23% from the harvest till the transportation, and the 21% from the transportation to the marketing. In pomegranate orchards, for example, the 65% of diseases is caused by latent pathogens that infect the fruit during the blooming stage and then remain latent, waiting for optimal condition to development. Instead, the 35% is due to wound pathogens that infect the fruit along the full production chain. To the first class belong Alternaria, Botrytis, Polytoticum, and Cognella genera. Instead, in the second one, we have Penicillium and Aspergillus genera. So, to stroke both latent and wound pathogen is needed to act in the field and in post-harvest, to respect optimal cold storage conditions and include agronomic practices, ensuring the food quality and reducing the pesticide, the wastes, according to a One Health approach. In our trials, we tested alternative control meals of different classes, such as beneficial microorganisms, as Rubatidium pullulans and Bacillus aeruginosa, basic and potential basic substances, as chitosan and red sweet extract, and physical control means like electrolyzed water, ozonized water, and gaseous ozone. We tested all these means on pomegranates and citrus. Concerning pomegranates, in 2021, we tested in the field the different theses, such as the seaweed extract, the Bacillus aeruginosa, the Rubatidium pullulans, and the chitosan. We tested these treatments in an organic orchard at the blooming stage, and we had 4 treatments. We added further treatment 10 days before harvest. An additional trial occurred in post-harvest. And for this thesis, for this trial, we evaluated the effectiveness of dipping in alternative control means, such as ozonized water and neutral electrolyzed water, sometimes amended with different salts, such as sodium metabisulfite, potassium sorbate, sodium bicarbonate, and calcium propionate, using at the same concentration of 0.6%, and we choose this concentration because in a previous trial we evaluated that higher concentrations are phytotoxic. We tested this salt on cracked fruit because each cracks represent an access via for fungal wound pathogens. In an additional trial in the same year, we evaluated also the gaseous ozone shock treatment. We worked with cracked fruit and we tested the 715 ppb concentration, considering 4 hours of exposure time. We compared the different treatments, pre-treatments during the cold storage, that was about 3 months, 6 treatments during the cold storage, and 12 treatments during the cold storage. As a result, we can observe that both all Milo X, Bacillus ameloicopaciens, Agrobacillium pullulan, and Carpesam can reduce the specific population of fungi. During the cold storage and the short life, we monitor the data effectiveness, and we can observe that at the end of the short life, just the Bacillus ameloicopaciens can reduce by 43% the incidence of rot. Concerning the post-harvest the field trials, we can also evaluate the nesting importance during the cold storage and during the shelf life. And you can assess that the 20% of the incidence is caused by nesting due to Botrytis species. This is important also considering the final survey in which we analyze the different weight of the pathogens. In 2021, Botrytis is the main one, and it represented about the 40%. This percentage is halved by treatment with Bacillus ameloicopaciens. However, for post-harvest trials, data are a little bit different. So, comparing the different phases during the cold storage and the shelf life, we can observe that just the calcium propionate and the potassium sorbate can reduce by 58 and 36% the effectiveness, the incidence of the decays. Instead, concerning ozone, we don't observe results. There's no effectiveness. We choose the best treatment of each trial to assess the trial of the next year. So in 2022, we evaluated the best treatment of in the field phases, the best one for dipping and the best one for gaseous ozone. Concerning pre-harvest trial, we choose to work with the a different number of applications. So we tested 2 applications in the field during the blooming stage, and we compared this one with 4 applications in the field, added with 1 just before harvest. Then we dipped the fruit in calcium propionate. So as shown in these figures, we can observe that all the phases are split. This splitment is repeated also for ozone treatment that was applied at 750 ppb for 4 hours of exposure and 4 weekly treatments in the month. And we evaluated both the incidence of the decays and the qualitative parameters such as color or treatable acidity. However, these data are in the process. Concerning citrus trial, we have a different situation because most of the post-harvest diseases of citrus are caused by Penicillium digitatum and Penicillium italicum, caused by that cause green mold and blue mold. And these diseases happen during the post-harvest. So we look into evaluated the conidial survival of this species of Penicillium if exposed to continuous ozone or to 1 minute ozone. And we added to this trial part of trial in vivo on different citrus to evaluate the effectiveness of calcium propionate, of the continuous exposure to ozone, as we had just been with the pomegranates. And we added a final semi-commercial scale trial applying pre-treatment of ozone per day. We choose to work with injured fruits because these are like natural infection. So concerning the results, we can observe that in this post-harvest trial, we compare the effectiveness of prolonged and instant exposure. The prolonged exposure is most effective than the instant one. In fact, we can observe that after 3 hours of exposure, at the concentration of 500 ppb and 750 ppb, we had a reduction of the 75% of colonies. The results became increased in the time after 12 hours of exposure, and no colony was observed. This data are shown also in these plates, and we can observe that at the maximum concentration of ozone, after 6 hours and after 12 hours, we cannot have colonies. Concerning the post-harvest trials on injured fruits that were dipped in calcium propionate during the shelf life, we can observe that after 18 days of immersion in calcium propionate, we have a reduction by the 50% of the incidence of growth. Instead, for this trial, that was with gas aerosol at different concentration, with different time of exposure, we can observe that there are different effectiveness of the trials at the different concentration. So, at 250 ppb, we can observe that the 250 ppb applied after 6 hours can reduce by 34% the incidence of rots in the wounds. Instead, the other thesis can reduce by 70%, more or less, the incidence of wounded infected wounds. Similarly, at 500 ppb, we can observe a reduction ranging between the 40 and the 60%. And the 750 ppb, just the 26%. These data are a little bit strange, so we decided to repeat the trials a further time. Concerning the symptomatic scale trial, we can observe a difference between the treated tails with ozone and untreated tails with ozone. However, these data are not available yet. And the main problem is to evaluate if these oxidizing agents have a fungistatic or fungicide effect. According to this picture, we can observe that eutrophic lesions or white mycelium corresponding to the area that were in contact with ozone. So ozone can delay the purification of the fungus. Instead, in the area without exposure to ozone, the fungus can go on with its purification. So we can conclude assessing that to enhance the effectiveness of alternative control means, we need to have in the field treatments to stroke latent pathogens, post-harvest treatments to stroke wound pathogens, and optimal storage conditions to reduce and control the development of fungi, considering the mycelium and the conidial purification, for example. And these will be added to the good agronomic practices to reduce the secondary infection and to enhance the plant defense mechanism. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your contribution. And we have a question from the Zoom meeting, but after you can read. Thank you for the question. And so among the various types of biological controls seen today, also yeast play an important role. Several antagonists in yeast have shown to have a broad spectrum of activity against a wide range of post-harvest pathogens. So I invite Davide Spadaro from the University of Torino to talk about the effectiveness of antagonistic yeast and essential oils in the control of post-harvest disease.
Thank you very much for your presentation. So first of all, I would like to thank the organizer, in particular Gianfranco, which plays always a very strong role in organizing the Prima Foundation for funding the project, and also DECCO for giving this opportunity to host this event at Macfrut. So what I speak today in part has already been presented. So I will speak a bit about the use of antagonistic yeast and also of essential oils in the control of post-harvest diseases. I will provide some examples which are coming from this project, the StopMedWaste, and also some complementary examples. So we know already that there are several post-harvest diseases. Our examples of study come from different fruits. So we have been working with strawberries, peaches, apples, and grapevine in the last years. So I will skip this because Gianfranco has already presented, but we have this farm-to-fork approach, which is pressing to find alternatives to chemical pesticides. And in particular, there are also some fungicides which can be used in post-harvest, which are candidates for substitution. For example, the fludeoxonil is one of these products which can be used also for the control of post-harvest diseases, both in pre and post-harvest for stone fruit, for example. So, speaking about essential oils are a lot of products, secondary metabolites, which are produced by different families. In particular, we have focused on some essential oils which are coming from Lamiaceae, Rutaceae, and Apiaceae family. They have several compounds, in particular monoterpenes are really effective with their antimicrobial activity, and their mechanism of action has two more or less effects. In one case, they act directly against the pathogens by breaking the cell wall, so they can cause ion leakage, but they can also block the respiration into the mitochondria. They have also another activity, which some has already presented, which is the induction of resistance into the fruit, which can help in fighting against the pathogen of the fruit. So some examples that we have by working with different essential oils, in this case coming from apples and nectarines. In the case of apple, we have been working against botrytis cinerea on stored apple, and in this case we tested the thyme, savory, and basil essential oils, but also a thymol formulation which is mainly made 99% by this thymol, which is the active ingredient of thyme. So in this case, similarly, we have done some experiments in vitro to test preliminarily what was the power of reduction of these essential oils, and then we passed to some experiments in vivo made in cabinets with apples stored for 60 days and also in shelf life. And in this case, we could see that different essential oils were effective at the end of storage and also in shelf life with an activity which was always lower compared to the chemical product of reference, which is thiabendazole, but which were interesting. So we made some gas chromatographic analysis in order to see what was the main component. And as we have seen, thymol is for thyme, mainly carvacrol for savory and estragol for basil. These are the main components in their composition. And we also tried to see what was the degradation rate or the presence which was into the cabinets during storage of these essential oils to see if a slow release diffusers could be effective in reducing the presence. Then we also wanted to see if the essential oils are modifying the microorganisms which are present on the surface of the fruit. And in this case, we used a metagenomic approach, in particular to see what was the effect on the fungal population. These data are quite difficult to be interpreted in few seconds, but I just show that the time essential oils, for example, was able to reduce significantly the presence of botrytis during these experiments. This is the presence, for example, of botrytis, but on the other side, it was increasing the presence of other pathogens. So, for example, penicillium was increasing. So, the activity of the essential oil sometimes is able to reduce or to target one pathogen, but it can favor another pathogen. So, we must be very careful when we use them, and this occurs both in epiphytes, so on the surface of the fruit, but also inside the fruit. So the activity can be seen also in the pulp of the apples. We did similar experiments in the Prima project with another set of 5 essential oils. In this case, there was also fennel and lemon, and we also did the first in vitro activity. We saw that the thyme, basil, oregano, and fennel were working quite well. And then we passed to test these essential oils on the control brown rot in nectarines. What we could see is that fennel, lemon, and basil had a good activity, but after shelf life, when we open and take the fruit outside the cabinets, we lose more or less this activity, which is fungistactic, but not fungicidal. Anyway, we took the 3 best essential oils to do another test in a larger condition. In this case, we did not inoculate the fruit, so we just saw what was the natural infection rate. And we could see that still we could have some good activity comparable to fludeoxonil, in this case without treating the fruits. Also, we did the microbiome studies on this fruit. So these are the first results of the microbiome coming from the StopMedWaste project. And all the treatments were able to reduce the abundance of monilinia, but we could observe again that the basil, for example, essential oil, was able to increase penicillium. So when you block one, you can favor the other pathogen, and that was something that we observed several times. So now moving to just a few minutes to biocontrol agents. In this case, we had some experience with yeast. Yeast is a group of microorganisms that we like very much because they are tolerant to extreme conditions. They can grow on the fruit, they can be produced easily, and they are simple in their nutritional request. So here I just show examples from nectarines, strawberries, grapevine, and apple. In a screening test, what we wanted to do with nectarines is to check some yeast that we had in our collection to see if they were able to reduce in wound testing in vivo, and some of them were quite effective. So we wanted to test further these strains in a second set of experiments on a large number of fruit, and also in this case we did some microbiome sampling to see what was the effect of their application. So we selected 3 strains, AP47, FR4A, and MS, and we could see that after 28 days of storage, MS was the best with a reduction of the incidence of rots comparable to fludeoxonil. So then we moved to another shelf life period, but in this case, monilinia is growing very quickly as always, so it's very difficult to be controlled at room temperature. So we are now performing these microbiome studies, and on strawberries, similarly, we wanted to test some strains that we have in our collection, but we also isolated into the project some endophytic yeast coming from strawberries which were sterilized, and we tried to isolate what was growing inside the fruit. So in this case, some of the biocontrol agents showed a very good efficacy. For strawberries, there is no need to inoculate the fruit because botrytis is growing very quickly. And we moved to see also if they were effective after the storage shelf life. Again, botrytis on strawberry at room temperature is growing very quickly, so the control is becoming less interesting. And well, just to finish, I show just some examples coming from grapevine. This is quite interesting because in this case, we worked with some microbiologists. So the idea was not only to control botrytis development, but also to add some bioprotectant able to favor the wine production, the vinification process. So we were trying to test if these biocontrol agents were able both to improve the reduction of the disease and also the bioprotection during wine fermentation. So in this case, we tested for strains on the first year compared to fludioxonil plus cyprodinil. We got some interesting results. And for the second year, we selected some of these antagonists. We added some commercial products, and we could see that yes, there was some interesting product similar to the switch commercial product. So the activity, in particular MS, was really interesting. And then we did similar microbiome studies. I will not go into the detail, but we could see that all the antagonists were found into the fruit at the end, and botrytis was significantly reduced, which is indicated by the gray color. So I think I am running late, so I finish here. I thank everyone for your attention, and also the StopMedWaste project, and also the other projects which are supporting our activity. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your contribution. And now, for the last speech of the morning, we talked about edible coatings formulated with natural extracts and essential oils to control brown root and maintain post-harvest quality of fruits. With Maria Bernardita Perez. Thank you.
Thank you very much for organizing this meeting. And it's okay? No? No, thank you very much for organizing this meeting and giving us the opportunity to present this work which is integrated in the PRIMA project. To present this work about edible coatings formulated with antifungal extracts and essential oils to control brown rot and maintain post-harvest quality of plants. The Mediterranean basin is the major supplier of fruits and vegetables in the European Union, being Italy and Spain among the most important producing countries. However, fresh products are highly perishable, being post-harvest diseases the main cause that contributes to food waste. The use of synthetic fungicides is the main tool to control post-harvest diseases and reduce losses. However, different alerts that have been already just mentioned in previous presentations have raised the need to look for eco-friendly alternative strategies. In this context, the StopMedWaste was born with the main objectives of reducing synthetic fungicides and reduce food waste while maintaining high quality. And within the different working packages of this project, The Valencian Institute of Agricultural Research is responsible for the development of new antifungal edible coatings to extend the shelf life of citrus, stone fruits, and pomegranates. Within the particular case of stone fruits, such as plums, the major limitations that the sector faces include the short maturation period. This requires the use of cold storage to extend the commercial period. However, these commodities are chill sensitive. They have a storability that can range between 1 and 6 weeks, depending on cultivar, at the optimum storage temperature, which is 0.1 degrees Celsius. And the main post-harvest cause of decay or of loss is post-harvest diseases caused mainly by Monilinia fruticola, which is the main post-harvest pathogen for stone fruits, causing brown rot. In the last decades, edible coatings have gained a lot of interest from researchers and also the industry as an economic, safe, easy, and sustainable technology. These edible coatings are formulated with natural ingredients, mainly biopolymers. This morning, we have heard about chitosan, which is a biopolymer, which has inherent antimicrobial and antifungal activity, but there are other biopolymers that they don't have such activity. But well, these edible coatings are mainly formulated with biopolymers and lipids. They provide a semi-permeable barrier to gases and water vapor, and this translates, when applied to fruits and vegetables, the possibility to reduce weight loss, respiration rate, physiological disorders, maintain firmness. And in the case where when the biopolymer, they don't have antifungal activity, they allow the incorporation of active or antifungal or other activity. These edible coatings allow the incorporation of active substances such as antioxidants, antimicrobials, aroma, that improve the final performance of the coating. So we can help reducing post-harvest decay, or for example, in the case of minimally processed fruits, we can help reducing enzymatic browning, among other improvements. So the objective of this work was to develop new antifungal edible coatings for plants able to control brown rot and maintain fruit quality during cold storage and shelf life. For these specific objectives included to evaluate the in vitro antifungal activity of different essential oils and natural extracts at different concentrations to inhibit Monilinia fruticola, to study or to formulate new antifungal edible coatings with the selected agents, and to evaluate the curative activity against brown rot on artificially inoculated plants incubated at 20 degrees Celsius. And finally, to evaluate the effect of the selected antifungal edible coatings to control brown rot of plants during cold storage at 1 degree, and also to evaluate the effect of these coatings in food quality during cold storage plus a shelf life period of 4 days at 20 degrees. In the in vitro study, we evaluated a total of 90 ingredients. Depending on the chemical nature of the ingredients that we evaluated, we used 2 different methods. The volatile exposure method to evaluate essential oils and pure volatiles, which included Satureja montana, cinnamon essential oil, lemongrass, eugenol, geraniol, and myrrh essential oil. And the agar dilution method was used for natural extracts and also for low volatility compounds such as myrrh essential oil. The plates were all inoculated with Monilinia fruticola and were incubated up to 7 days at 25 degrees. And we evaluate the radial mycelial growth, and the results are expressed as percentage of mycelial growth inhibition compared to control samples, which were plates inoculated, but no, but they didn't have the active ingredient. These graphs show the results for the volatile exposure method and the agar dilution method. As you can see in the lower picture, all the volatiles, except for the mere essential oil, show a 100% growth inhibition in the plate. However, when the mere was disappointing, here, when the mere was evaluated by the agar dilution method, we observed 100 growth inhibition. And among the different extracts, only vinegin was effective reducing the growth, show a 100% growth inhibition. The in vivo study was preceded by an intensive work to select a formulation and selection of coating ingredients. We work with, or we tried with different biopolymers that included hydroxypropyl methylcellulose, starch, pectin, different lipids, emulsifiers, and the antifungal agents that were selected in the in vitro test. And at the end, the final edible coating was selected based on emulsion stability and formulations with low viscosity to be able to scale up the optimal formulation at industrial scale. Also based on wood field forming properties, fruit wetting, no tacking, and wood appearance. Of course, also with a concentration of the essential oils that did not induce a phytotoxic effect on the fruit surface. And with these criteria, we selected as an optimal edible coating, one formulated with hydroxypropyl methylcellulose and mono and diglyceride of fatty acids. And to this coating, we incorporate these antifungals, cinnamon essential oil, lemongrass, geraniol, and myrrh at 2 different concentrations. So black gold plants free from any post-harvest treatment were inoculated in the equator with a polylinear suspension of Monilinia fruticola. We evaluate the curative activity, so the coatings or the treatment were applied after 24 hours of inoculation by adding 300 microliters of the coating into the fruit and rubbing with a hand gloves. This simulates the effect of the rollers in the packing lines. And the fruit was incubated up to 10 days at 20 degrees. And we evaluate incidence as percentage of infected fruit and the severity, which as lesion diameter expressed in millimeters. These graphs show the results in incidence and severity. Here, the most effective coatings reducing disease incidence, brown rot incidence, were those formulated with 0.4 lemongrass. Hold on, no. It's not. 0.2 geraniol and 0.5 myrrh. And at the end of the, well, after 8 and 10 days of incubation at 20 degrees, reductions were between 27-30% and 45% compared to control samples. All the coatings significantly reduce disease severity, and being the most effective ones, the ones formulated with lemongrass and geraniol, with reductions that were above 60%. So HPNC coatings amended with 0.4 lemongrass, 0.2 geraniol, and 0.5 myrrh were selected to evaluate their performance on decay and quality of cold store and geleno plants. In the pathology test, we also evaluate the curative activity. So coating was applied after 24 hours of inoculation, and we store the fruits at 1 degree. And the experiment was carried out up to 6 weeks at 1 degree, followed by a 4-day shelf life period at 20 degrees. And in quality, we evaluate different quality parameters. These are the results for the pathology study. The coatings formulated with geraniol and myrrh were the most effective in reducing disease incidence, brown rot incidence, after 3 weeks of cold storage at 1 degree, being the most effective coating, the one with myrrh, with a reduction around 70% compared to the control. After 4 weeks of storage, only the coating with myrrh significantly reduced incidence by 30% compared to control. And for longer storage periods, the coatings were not effective controlling or reducing incidence. This shows that, in fact, that this, as it has been said before, these antifungal ingredients, they exert an effect fungistatic rather than fungicidal. Nevertheless, all the coatings significantly reduce the severity of the lesion. And at the end of the 6 weeks of cold storage plus the 4 days of shelf life, severity was reduced between 40 and 50% compared to control samples. Regarding fruit quality, in general, all the coatings were effective reducing weight loss during storage, cold storage, and shelf life. The coatings also improve or maintain a higher firmness of the fruit compared to uncoated to the control, to uncoated plants. No significant differences were observed between coated and uncoated plants for some quality parameters such as soluble solid content, titerable acidity, maturity index, and the external color of the fruit. The coatings increase the level of ethanol and acetaldehyde in juice at the end of the 6 weeks of cold storage plus the 4 days of shelf life. This increase in these volatile compounds indicate that the coatings were effective, creating a modifying the atmosphere inside of the fruit. These volatiles are associated with anaerobic respiration, so if they increase too much, they can negatively affect the sensory quality. However, the levels that we reached in this work were not enough, or were not high enough to modify the sensory evaluation. So we didn't find any significant difference in the overall flavor and off flavor of coated and uncoated fruit. All the coatings were evaluated with all the fruit was evaluated, coated and uncoated, with a good visual quality. And in addition, all the coatings improved the fruit gloss compared to the control, which is interesting from the commercial point of view, and having fruits with a higher gloss, which can be unattractive for consumers. Therefore, just in conclusion, we can say that in the in vitro test, most of the essential oils evaluated effectively reduce the radial growth of Mollinia fruticola with 100% inhibition. The results in vitro are much good than the results in vivo. Among the different fungal edible coatings evaluated, those formulated with 0.4 lemongrass, 0.2 geraniol, and 0.5 myrrh show a significant curative activity against brown rot on artificially inoculated plants incubated at room temperature, with incidence and severity reductions of up to 50 and 70% respectively after 8 days at 20 degrees. During cold storage, the HPMC coating formulated with myrrh was the most effective to reduce disease incidence up to 4 weeks of storage at 1 degrees, and all the coatings reduce severity. HPMC or coatings reduce weight loss and firmness loss and improve loss of coated plants without negatively affecting the sensory flavor. So, so far we can say that overall this the coating containing MER could be an alternative, an eco-friendly alternative to reduce decay and maintain post-harvest quality of plants. Although further research needs to be done, especially with other cultivars of plants. So just acknowledge also the funding from PRIMA officers for the Spanish agency, and also for the whole group in the post-harvest research facility of IDEA. Thanks.
Thank you so much for your contribution. So thank you very much for this explication. I know that food waste is a very important issue in this era where there are a lot of agricultural challenges to combat. So I usually recover food from supermarkets and local markets as a volunteer, and I know very well how the quantity of food waste are incredible. So thank you so much for studying such innovative and sustainable solution. And now we can read some questions. There is a question from the Zoom meeting, and it is from having a very related, but I don't know if Nicolaus and Davide want to come here to the stage, maybe. The question is there any side effect on the fruit that was coated with essential oils? Is there any side effect on the fruit that was coated with essential oils during storage?
Okay. Well, my answer could be completed maybe by Bernardita, because my experiments or my way to apply the essential oils is by biofumigation. So there is not a direct contact between the fluid and the essential oils. Anyway, what we observed during our experiments is that when we were working with the direct application, we obtain sometimes phytotoxicity, which is sometimes a side effect. On the other side, sometimes you can also observe a change in the flavor of the fruit, and this is another important aspect. By reducing the concentration, by applying biofumigation, which is this opportunity, maybe you can reduce both side effects, because in one case, when you open the storage chambers, you lose in few hours this smell, which is sometimes very strong, and in panel test we could observe no significant difference. So also the phytotoxicity was lost. But maybe also the coating is another important aspect to be applied.
Yes, I mean, phytotoxicity is a problem with most of the essential oils, but it depends a lot on the concentration and also the commodity, of course. So you need to look for the right concentration that doesn't induce any phytotoxic effect. One of the benefits of using edible coatings is that this can reduce or help reducing part of the problems of the essential oils, the phytotoxic effect, and also the sensory effect, the flavor, because they are incorporated into matrices. They can be encapsulated or emulsified. They are emulsified with biopolymers, so this can reduce this side effect. Okay. Nevertheless, of course, if the concentration is too high, you can have a phytotoxic effect. And in most of the cases, the concentration that you need to use in vivo to control the decay, they are phytotoxic. So you need to find this equilibrium. But of course, edible coatings can reduce both side effects, and you need to look for the concentration that is optimum for your commodity, even for the within the matrix that you are preparing this encapsulation or emulsification of the essential oil. So you need to do a lot of work, previous work. That's why we work with different biopolymers. We formulate quite a lot. It was an intensive work. And here I just summarize and gave the final results with the HPMC coating. But we need to, some of the formulations and concentrations with essential oils were phytotoxic, so we need to reduce. This means that they also reduce the antifungal activity. So you need to find this equilibrium and formulate quite a lot, but edible coatings can be a good tool to reduce these two problems.
Thank you. So there are other relators that want to contribute to this question.
Just to mention that we also need to consider combine means. For example, if we apply high essential oil concentration, maybe then we can apply supplementary ozone or another mean that we can reduce the smell and make the products more acceptable from the people.
Thank you. And also, I have a question for all the relators. The question is, okay, so these alternatives are safe and eco-friendly, but are they economically sustainable?
I may start to answer, but I'm curious what the other speakers make them about. For example, if we talk about essential oil are very, very powerful because there is a difference according to the essential oil or the formulation of the chemical formulation of the components with a higher amount. Because in essential oil, there is a combination, it's called phytocomplex. And not all essential oil are the same because the essential oil of thymus, for example, can be chemotypes, can optimize to thymol or to carbachol or to other compounds. So essential oil are important as all the tools that we have, but as also the other speakers told, it is important to find the proper condition of use because as everything, as Paracelsus told when we were young, that it is the rate that make the poison. So even the essential oil has a range of effectiveness in which at a high range it became phytotoxic, so it produces damage. In an intermediate rate, produce an effect on the pathogen, but an effect also on the plant. So it induces resistance, as in several of the talks came out. But they are volatile, so after a while they goes away. So we have to take them, as you told, try to link in a formulation or combining in another way. So even the commercial formulation, try based on essential oil or main compounds of essential oil as something that takes the essential oil and slow down the release. This can have an effect on the consumer, so we need to test if we want to run a trial on essential oil. We need to run a panel test to see if it is feasible and it can, the day after or the week after or the year after, can be used by the consumer. About the commercial and economic feasibility, I think that we are starting with research. And research means to try, because when you do research, you can be lucky or you can set up the right system, but you can also provide the results of something that in that system did not work. So of course, we have to provide solution that may be applied. And without thinking so much which can be the response of the market. Of course, with one eye, we have to take under proper attention the scaling up, because if we do something and it remains in the lab, it means that it didn't go further. I was very lucky to see that Davide was trying one of these that toward the end of last century, we developed in the lab of Professor Ripoto, starting from tomatoes, taking from the field. So this is just a small example of something that started in the lab and reached the market after a while. So maybe some, not all, but some of the solutions that we are developing in this project in 5, 10, 15, 20 years can become reality. Just talking of these of last century, we started, Professor Ripoto started with trials. I did the thesis, I were as young as the students that are here. I did the thesis on calcium chloride. Now calcium chloride is widespread in table grapes, and it is difficult to find a vineyard without this calcium chloride application. So we need to go on with the research, and on the other side, we have to see which one of those applications can have the potential to be spread to large scale. But I'm curious to learn what the other speakers will tell about.
Okay, I can complement your answer just by saying, in our experience, well, if we speak about essential oils, I believe that the cost is not so higher. We calculated that when it was a direct application on the fruit after concentration lower than 1%, the cost was not influencing more than 2-3% of the final cost of the fruit. So it's quite feasible to be sustained. When we started to test this biofumigation, we did not calculate, but cost is much lower. So it's really something that can be sustained. On the other side, I believe that for biocontrol agents, we have already products on the market. Someone is using, they are not still very widespread, but there are products from such as Hector, we have this Nori, we have the Nexus. So different products are on the market and can be used. So the cost is quite feasible. And on the other side, we have to calculate that even though maybe the chemicals are sometimes cheaper, there is a strong push to eliminate some of the chemicals which nowadays are available. So if we don't have them, the others will become sustainable anyway. Okay.
I would like to add a couple of things also that, for example, we all want to use less synthetic chemicals. So if one product, a natural product, can be a little bit more costly, I'm pretty sure that the consumer will be happy to support that. And also we all need to think about circular economy. For example, when you get essential oils, you get them by distillation. But during this process, you also get hydrosol, which is the water coming with the distillation. You have several good experience that this hydrosol has also nice properties, not equal as essential oil, but very good properties. So this is another byproduct that comes from this process. And the third product that comes from the process is the waste, the plant waste after the hydrodistillation, that we use it in our lab for growing plants as a compost media. So when you consider all these different material that you get from one process, then maybe you have a very good circular economy on this one, and you deserve to explore.
Thank you very much. There are. Okay, thank you.
Well, in terms of edible coatings, I think they are feasible from the economical point of view. In fact, those companies that are in the market giving like Deco, for example, no, that they are all these companies are trying to put in the market natural edible coatings or natural formulations to replace all the commercial waxes, because the market is demanding that. Of course, the cost will depend on the ingredients that you use, but as Nikos has said, also circular economy is basic, and most of the biopolymers, starch, pectin, cellulose derivatives, they can come, or they come from this circular economy. So, and of course also the natural extracts and essential oils and so on. So at the end, I think actually the big and intense work that is being performed on edible coatings is basically related because it's a safe and also an expensive technology that can be applied by the industry. That's part of the big success of edible coatings now at research and also industrial level.
Thank you. Thank you, Maria.
So concerning the industry trials, we can evaluate that we are trying to reduce the number of treatments. So in this year, we observe that 2 treatments with Bacillus immunoliquefacens are the same thing for 4 treatments, and this halves the cost. And on the other hand, we can observe that concerning the electrolyzed water machine and the ozonized water machine, you pay off for the cost of the machine over the time. So I think that it's possible to use this alternative control means without side effect. Also considering that the retail price is different for the biologic organic culture instead of conventional one.
Thank you so much. And there are some questions from the participants.
It's a comment.
Yes, there's. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think there are some alternatives that, by the point of view of the cost of application, they are very cheap. For example, as David said, essential oil as biofumigation is very cheap the application. Also, ozone, as Anna Maria said, is very cheap because you have the cost of the machine, and then the energy needed for production of ozone is very low. But and there are other, for example, the biocontrol agents, for example, Botector, also the chitosan. If we apply at the high dosage or the right dosage, we can say the cost is very high. So these are two problems that we have, but we have to consider also the cost of the waste. Now, for example, at the moment, the alternative control means are not so effective as the fluoxetine, as David showed before. So we have to consider also the cost of the waste that is higher at the moment. But in the future, for sure, as Gianfranco said, maybe in 10 or 15 years, the situation will be completely different, because we will not have so many fungal, antifungal agents, chemical. Fluoxetine maybe will not be available in the future. So we have to accept this higher waste. The consumer will be happy, in my opinion, to see, for example, a spot of disease, because it means that no chemicals, no adverse substances are present in the food. And probably with this kind of project or other project in the future will improve the effectiveness of these alternative control means. Okay.
Thank you very much. There are some questions from the participants.
now or never.
I have another question for Gianfranco, in particular for the participants of StopMedWaste project. I think that it's very important to communicate this innovation and sustainable solution to the people, because a lot of people waste food at home. So how StopMedWaste work on it?
We agree, and you can wonder what you can do for us or what I can do. So you are here the first person that talks to the community, because you do it for work. So we are doing a week in the project, even this meeting in a big fair, and of course we have some others, and we will have some others. But it is a way to communicate in different ways. So we have the scientific way to communicate. We are producing a list of papers that are available for all the community, and all the people all over the world knows, and we have dozens of papers that already came, and some others will come out. So this is a way for the scientific community. I completely agree. It's not easy to meet the general public, but this is an opportunity, and for those who are interested, we will go into the parking grounds to see something much more practical. Now we saw some scientific results that may have or not a life tomorrow, but even your role can be important to disseminate those results, and we will talk the community into different areas that are providing contribution to the project. We did in Cyprus, we did in Bari, we are doing here, and we will do in other events. We will do in Lyon all together, where all the partners will talk to all the people that deals with diseases and post-service disease. So I'm confident, I'm very happy that all the partners are getting very, very good results. We are going also beyond what we planned. So I'm very happy that a list of options are coming, and it will be nice to have support in dissemination, but we will try to do our best to do, even to disseminate through social media. And also the video will be uploaded on YouTube channel, and all the people can have the chance to see it again if they miss it today.
Thank you very much. And there are some questions. If there are some questions, so I will thank you for your participation. I wish you to continue the day, and you have the meeting at Macfrut, so have a good meeting, and thank you all for your participation.